Hi everybody, welcome back, and if you're here for the first time, welcome. I'm Jessica Vitale, the president of the Users Group meeting, and today we have Ernest Chan, who's from Nickelodeon. Yay! Thank you so much, and he's going to be showing us what is it called?
frameD.
frameD, sorry. frameD, developed by Michael Wolf, and workflow at Nickelodeon, whatever he's got, time to show. So take it away, Ernest. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so frameD is, for those not familiar with Michael Wolf, he kind of EXR Trader, Map, ShareMeister. So frameD is this new plugin where it's an advanced image sequence control, and when you kind of read the description, it probably doesn't quite, it's a little hard to get your head wrapped around as like why you would want more control over an image sequence. The way this all started was that I was on the forum and I was kind of just wanting to know, like, hey, new tech, are you guys, because for us, we deal with a lot of image sequences from overseas when they send us the animation for our 2D shows. We get these like long image sequences. So whether it's we're trying to use the background as for a comp plate or using like an actual character mapped to say like a polygon, when you have that image sequence, you try to scrub and lay out, it's really kind of sluggish, and we're used to, I'm an After Effects user, so I'm just used to being able to hit 0, RAM preview, really scrub, write down notes as to where I need to say, like, character jumps in, contact, this needs to register to here. So I want to know, like, well, new tech, dealing with image sequences is a pain in the ass. And Michael had responded, like, oh, well, he had a plugin that he had made, I think around LightWave 5 days, where he was working on an animated film with someone where he actually used LightWave as the actual compositor for all the multiplanar and camera moves, and he had kind of shelved it because that plugin was very specific to what he needed. He didn't really think anyone would be interested in it, and I was like, well, I'd be interested in, if you're going to resurrect it, let me beta test it, and we kind of started talking, and from there, it kind of became this thing where I really kind of poked and prodded him. It's like, well, it'd be cool if it could do this. It'd be great if it could do this. This is how we use it at the studio. This is where I could envision seeing it, where it could be useful. And he eventually got it done. He released the first build shortly before SIGGRAPH. And I just want to show kind of what it can do, because for our purposes, it's really cool because it's not only just like a nice little utility to help you manage your image sequences, but you can actually use it as an animation tool. So frameD comes with two major components. There's the editor, which looks like this, and then the master plugins part. I'll start with the editor. So this is the editor. This little section here is the clipboard. This is the X sheet. That's a terminology that I'm very familiar with. X sheets from the 2D directors say, like, hold for 8 frames, 2-frame cush, editing, you can think of as like an EDL list. This is basically like iTunes playlist. I want to play this song here. I want to play this song here. I want to play this song here. I like this song a lot, so I'm going to copy it and put it here. This is your preview window. Right now we don't have anything in here, so you're not seeing anything. Then you have your tabs, kind of basic stuff, load, save, export. frameD uses its own proprietary file format called XFD, but the idea is behind the IFL file format. So you can actually export to an IFL format, but the XFD file actually has more information in it, so you can actually kind of restore your session settings. Edit kind of has the usual copy, cut, clear. So like if I have this selected, I can copy, come down here, paste. If I have this selected, cut, pretty standard. Settings, so preview start and preview end is this area, and then the last XG frame. So when you actually export your XFD file, that will actually be how long your animation is. And then image preview, we have a couple of settings here. So the difference between XSheet only and if you have this unchecked, the way frameD works is that if I have an image here at frame 0 and I put one at 2, it will hold this drawing at frame 1. So when I scrub this, if I have XSheet only, I'll show this, but if I scrub this, when I get to 1, you won't see anything. If I uncheck this, you will actually see how the sequence will play when you have it in layout. There's a sync to layout option where if I have this checked, see how this controls this. This is actually useful if you're doing sort of audio lip sync, because you can't load audio into frameD, the editor, but you can load it into layout. Solid background. This will actually show you the alpha channel, so you can change the color of the alpha, the background color. You want to display the alpha. So let me just go ahead and just get started.
So let me ask you, when you have sync to layout on, so then is the audio synced to you scrubbing in here?
Yes.
What I'll actually do is I'll show you how I did a quick little lip sync thing in here. So load image. So I made this quick little 24 frame ball animation. There's a couple of things. If I shift select all these images, it'll load the images as stills, whereas if I just select the one, it'll understand that there's a sequence in here. So it's just if I open, it can see that there's an image sequence there. So you can actually also set which drawings you want. I'll probably say image and drawings because I'm just kind of used to that world. So I'm going to say OK. We'll say the first frame is 0. So it's going to load it, and you also see that says processing. What it's actually doing is generating thumbnail images. The thumbnail images is what you will see in the preview window. So this actual first drawing is that the ball is actually off frame, so that's why you're not seeing anything. But if I scrub, so if I were to actually, let me do this, settings 23. Yeah. So if I were actually to project save, I'll just go out here, all XFD. Layout sees XFD files as animation files, so same thing as like a movie, QuickTime file, AVI file. So if I go to Windows, Image Editor, Load, All Files. If I actually change my config file to see the extensions, it will automatically populate in here. But right now, this is somebody else's computer. So if we do ball XFD, so there's my little ball animation. So you can do Windows, positing options, D. So right now, this file, this XFD file as is the same as if you were just to pull in the image sequence as is. So you might be thinking, well, why wouldn't I just use the image sequence as is? If you're not going to do anything with the image sequence, you certainly could. But if you're going to need to edit it, this is where it gets really kind of powerful, because the XFD file is just referencing the images, just the same as a LightWave file. So you go to text editor, say it'll find replace ball.lw with box.lw. It'll just update. So this is just referencing the images. But where this really becomes powerful is that, let's say you think, well, this animation right now, it's all on ones. If you wanted to change it on twos, you would have to go back to, say, in After Effects, redo a new image sequence, or manually, name replace files. Or I could right now just say, let me do this, select, insert. I'm going to insert after selected frame, so I'm going to insert a blank frame. So now this is on twos. Now my project link wasn't long enough to account for this. Oops, I don't want that. So let's do 46. So this is image preview. So right now it sets to X sheet only. So right now, when I get to this drawing, see how it'll pop to black, because I'm only seeing what's in the X sheet entries. If I uncheck that, so now this animation's on twos. You just kind of quickly change the timing of this animation. Now, if you say like, well, I want, where's that contact pose? All right, so right now we have this contact pose. It's holding for 2 drawings or 2 frames. I don't like that. I'm going to take all this. Where are you? Uh-oh, come on. Don't screw me over here. Oh, here you are. Where was that contact pose? Oh, no. Well, you know what? I think it's not. There you go. Come on. Maybe this is a bug. We're still kind of, well, I should be able to shift select this and basically move everyone up. I think if I just were to do a copy paste, it would probably work better. But here I can actually just change, so like this is on for 1 frame and then it just pops off. So here I could actually just change the timing of my animation kind of right in here. So epic fail on the demo, but you get the idea.
Middle mousing it back?
No, it should just be shift click. I think it's just how it, there's a difference between selecting the entry and actually being on the entry when you're actually moving through. So like I can actually, change where I am in the XSheet editor and actually change where I have it selected. So sometimes it gets a little confusing. So like the buffer, so if I say like, let's see if I can do this. Shift copy, edit, copy. So like that will tell you what frames you have selected in here. So I can go into here, paste. Of course, my thing isn't. Let's just go 100. So, well, that's interesting. It only copied that one. I'll have to open up some more bug tickets on Mike's bug tracker. So the other thing that's really useful with this is that it can actually generate proxy images on the fly. So let me actually project new. Yes. Load image. So I have some HD footage here. It's 1080 HD. Okay. Okay. So this will probably take a little bit of time. So if I were to actually bring this footage as is in the layout and try to scrub it, it would probably be really slow. It will be really slow. I actually tested this out last night on my computer at home, and it was, you were getting kind of, the jumping around in the timeline. So with frameD, you can actually create proxies that has some preset proxy resolutions. There's half res, third res, quarter res, and 10th resolution. And let's see. As that goes.
It's just doing that for display purposes. It's not actually saving a file out anywhere.
It actually is. I have these backed up proxy. These are actually the proxies that it will create. So this is like, it'll make a folder.
Do you have to save them, or does it do it automatically?
It does it automatically. And the other thing is that if you, let's say you update the source footage,
right,
it can actually detect that, oh, this new footage is newer than what I had generated before, and it will then regenerate the proxies on the fly. So you can either generate the proxies on the fly up front in the editor, or in layout in the master plugins, because if I can't do it right now, but master plugins, when you load it up, there will be two drop downs, one for display and render. So you can actually render out the proxies as well. So let's say you have your display proxy set to 100% no proxy, and you say, well, I actually want a proxy set, you set to 50%. As you scrub in layout, if you don't have those proxies made up front, as you scrub, it'll make it on the fly.
Make them do it.
Same thing, or if you decide, okay, 50% wasn't good, I want to go down to 10, same thing, you just scrub, it'll just make it on the fly. So you can just hit play and it'll just do it for you.
So you got to remember to go back and delete those later if you build up a sizable amount of them, I would guess.
Well, yeah, because the way it works is that you can actually render or display them. So your one object that is using that image sequence, it's still the one object. Master plugins is controlling what it displays. So it's not like you have a background plate, LWO for full res, 10th res, quarter, third, whatever. You're changing that in master plugins. So it's in the scene file. So yeah, maybe when you get down to archiving, you realize, well, I don't need these proxy files anymore. You can sort of clean them out, but next time someone opens up and tries to like make those proxies, it's not going to, it'll just remake them for you. Does that answer your question? So we have this footage here. Let's do create proxies. Let's see, I already have 10, 20. We'll just do, well, just because I know this takes a while and I don't want to take up all our time on watching this thing make proxies, let's do this, save. BG plate. Let me do this. Let me take these. Oops. So you see this thumbs folder? It actually made that, but that's just for the thumbnails in the editor when you want to scrub something. Paste. Proxy. Those compositing options. Load image. All right, so I'm trying to scrub. It's kind of chugging along. Oh, let's actually do this too. 19, 20. Tab. Where's tab? 1080. So I'm trying to scrub. It's kind of slow. Let's do this. Much smoother. 25 res. Still pretty smooth. 33, third res. 50%. It's better than it was at 100%. Still a little laggy, but it's definitely, you know, it's nice that you just have the option to just change your resolution on the fly. And then you don't have to sit here and think, oh, well, I better swap out of my object, you know, disable that from rendering, whatever. Because you're just, right now I have my display set to, we'll change it to 10%. But see right here, render proxy size. So it actually will render, you know, with the 100% footage. You know, maybe if you're doing, oh, where's the render? You know, if you want to do, maybe you're doing like, you know, quick dailies or something, you know, third res, which doesn't look, well, yeah, there it's a little, you know, it's obviously a little pixelated, but yeah, so this is the master plugin. So this is where you can control your XFD file. Let's see. Now an example of actually using it as an animation tool, let's do this, load scene. So we have our Mr. Picard.
Make it so. Make it so.
All right, so frameD editor. Let's do this load. Picard. So imagery, sync to layout. Okay, so it actually already had that checked because I had this saved in this project from before. So if I scrub layout, so these mouse shapes, let's do this. So it's just these mouse shapes. I don't think I even used up all these mouse shapes, but say from like, if you're working on like a short or where you have you want to do this thing where it's like, well, I want 3D characters, but you know, I want to have 2D lip sync. Well, you can have your library of the mouse shapes. You pass all those out to your animators. You do your lip sync in here, and remember, because the XFD file is just still referencing those same images, your entire team is using like the approved mouse shapes. You know, these are on model, these have the right color, and they build their XFD files, which are tiny. Versus, you know, the way I would have done this before, if I was doing this in After Effects, I'd build like a long image sequence in After Effects, you know, build my little sequence in there, render that. You have a long, either a big AVI file or a frame sequence that's, you know, hundreds of frames long because the character's talking loud or it's a long scene. But here, you know, let's say the guy realizes, you know, oh, I don't want to go from this E to the A so quickly. I'm going to just take this and move it down. You know, you can do this on the fly, and it's not, you don't have to go back and re-render a giant monster image sequence after After Effects. What's also kind of nice is that because everyone is still referencing those same images, let's say down the halfway through production, we've probably all dealt with this, oh, we don't like how that looks, can we go back and change it? Well, you just need to update your library of poses, and all the animators, they don't even have to go back and update the XFD file. It's just going to re-pull that in, you know, go back and re-render your stuff. So I thought this was actually really cool because it's not just a way to manage and make dealing with image sequences better and faster. You can actually use it now as an animation tool where, you know, it's very much like a Robot Chicken thing. You know, Robot Chicken, they just have stickers on the mouse and just kind of pop, and you can kind of, you know, quickly do this kind of almost very stylized animation. You know, if you want to do maybe create a library of maybe eye blinks or something, because you want, like, well, I want all the facial stuff to be 2D. You can get this, you can get into a situation where you can mix the different media, and it's actually very flexible. And the same thing, you can still use the proxy systems if you want. These images are super tiny. I think to give you an example of if I wanted to update these images, let's see if this will work. Oh, Mahler, why are you up? Let's see, mouse web, edits, copy, mouse, edit, paste. So there, we just gave him a gold tooth.
Make it so. Make it so. Make it so. Make it so.
Let's see. You actually can further control your playback of the XFD file in the master plugins. Let's see, window. Image editor. Nope. Alright. We had in frameD, you have the actual option to actually ping pong the animation, whereas LightWave just has hold last, I think, hold start, hold last, and loop. But with Mike, he actually added the ability to ping pong animation. The one thing to keep in mind is that in order to control the sequence through here, you actually have to set the post behavior here to loop. I don't really know why. There's probably a technical reason. You can actually change the speed of the playback speed of your sequence, and also you can actually envelope when your frames can play. So if anyone's familiar with After Effects, this is basically time remapping. Let me show you that. Clear scene, file load scene, time remapped. So this is a cancel load. Where are you numbers? Oh, I think I have you. So this is an XFD file with just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what I did in layout, what I had done in my scene file yesterday was that I had taken the animation here and I put a noisy channel on it. So you would have different values over time. So it's randomly playing back that XFD file at different times. I'm not sure, I'm not seeing my graph editor in my scene file, but let me see if I can just recreate it quickly. Let's see, let's do 2. So there, it's just randomly playing this XFD file at different points in time. Something you certainly can't do with LightWave's image, sequences right now. Let's see. Is there any questions so far?
Are there many or any applications in an all 3D environment that you would use this for? Or, have you encountered situations where you found it particularly useful for, smoke on cards or?
Well, that's what I was thinking about smoke on cards, that you could have, your one card and then be able to change when it happens, or, be able to slow it in and out, when you need it in here, versus maybe having a bunch of different polys that have, different start frame sets, I remember on Foundation, I think we had a lot of polys that was, start at frame 10, start at frame 15 and whatnot.
Random ones, especially, like a rain sequence. going to paint it, or you have it in 2D, or you render it and then you display it.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking from a motion graphic standpoint, you can maybe have a bunch of like random still frames, and maybe they kind of flip through something, then they stop because you can control it in the graph editor. So like, no, we're going to just randomly play through this montage of sequences. I was thinking you could for just kind of general background stuff, maybe you have some kind of futuristic Tron world where you just have a bunch of like neat designs that are just kind of flipping on computer screens. So I mean, I think having that control.
Speaking about frameD in general, not just the randomizing aspect of it.
Well, I found that the being able to proxy the image sequence is helpful because sometimes we get the image sequence from overseas where it's like a door shot that's like hundreds of frames long, and it's just like painful to scrub, or sometimes you find out where it's like, oh well, we don't like that drawing that overseas drew. Can we strip that out? And it's like, okay, we'll have to go back and either cut it out in After Effects or find that frame in the actual sequence. And the fact that I can actually then pull in images from elsewhere to just build a new sequence, is really nice because I don't have to like split. Because the other thing, then I'm not stuck with all these monster files on my network where it's like, it's the same Dora run, but I have it copied in 10 different places because it's for 10 different shots. Like, why can't we just kind of just reference that same run and it just kind of.
Please go ahead. No.
Does it also work in BPR mode as far as the proxy?
That's a good question. I believe so, but let's not quote me on that. We'll do this. It looks like, yeah, I'm proxying this down to 10% resolution. His mouth is looking all chunky right now. So, yeah.
So Ernest, what are you mapping onto his face since the image sequence is being taken care of by frameD?
It is right here, image picard.xfd file. Yeah, the XFD file is like the same thing as an animation file too. But
and file formats, what handle? Can it do like displacement maps or things like that as well?
Well, it's just like any other movie file. So yeah, I think you should be able to use this. Say, if I were to map, let's see, let's do. I would think so, because it's just to LightWave. It's just a movie file, is what it is. Now, in terms of the actual image file formats, I don't think frameD supports Targa and IFF because the way Michael explained it is that those file formats are kind of embedded into LightWave, so he doesn't have access to. The other file formats are referenced via the plugin file, so he doesn't have access to kind of be able to do stuff with that image file format. So like,
you can't take a QuickTime or an AVI or something and load it in and have it strip out the movie as individual frames.
No, but that's a good feature request. Because right now, frameD, you can't.
Can I ask you, could you have it like strip out?
And tomorrow would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I did ask was something similar to yours. Like,
and especially if you could then take it and actually designate where you wanted that to happen. Because as you say, you might get something that's like 30 seconds long and you need 88 frames out of it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Because that's actually very similar to something I was when I was talking with them. It's like, it's cool that I can have all these image files, but what if I have like a nice little movie clip that I like to use over and over again? Can I pull that into the editor? And she says, well, no, because I think it has to like be able to understand the codec and then decompress it or deconstruct it and whatnot. So, but he says it's. I don't know where that conversation left out. He has a lot.
I'm sure it can be done. It's just a question of what would it take to actually. Is it 100 times simpler to just go into After Effects and do export image sequence?
Similar to the are the images of the worksheets?
The PNG files?
No, but are they like transparency maps?
Yeah, it has just an alpha map. No, it has an alpha channel on it. Yeah, that's another thing to. Thank you for bringing up the alpha channel thing. Is that for those of you that are used to like being able to like clone instance set alpha only, you can't do that with the XFD files. You actually would want to dupe this XFD file and just call it _alpha, because the way, let's see, maybe try to do this right now. Instance alpha only surface editor. We'll do. It's not going to make any sense, but if I actually hit F9, nothing will happen. But see how that instance disappeared? But now this version, this entry is set to alpha only when it shouldn't have been. I think it's just how LightWave is able to track instances of stuff and how it's communicating with the master plugins. It just gets screwed up. So if you're looking to do stuff with alpha channels, you would take this, copy the XFD file, or just in the editor it'd be like, file save as card_alpha, and you would just have two entries for one that is set to be normal, the one that is set to alpha only. So it's a slight workaround, but then again, the XFD files aren't huge, and you're still referencing the same library of images. So it's not like you have two 500 frame image sequences, one for the color and one for alpha. It's just actually just pointing to the same sequence.
Is it possible to have multiple columns similar to animation layers, so that you could do like the mouth column, lip sync all that, and then eye columns, so that you can change your timing for each one of those and have multiple images without it getting all convoluted?
So you're thinking of, so you have one column for the lip sync and then you have another column for the eye blinks, and just being able to sync them up in time?
Well, yeah, I mean, it would both of them would track to your layout if you wanted to, but you would have the same frames, but just different images so you can play around with each one.
Yeah, no, you can't right now, but that's a good feature request.
Multiple characters.
Yeah.
You have dialogue between two people and you see who's talking when.
Yeah, no, right.
Load in multiple files.
No, yeah, no, you can't right now, but that's a good one. Yeah, I'll add your list. I'll steal all your ideas and add it to all the stuff that I still want him to implement.
Dave Gerard's going to want a nodal version of that.
What's the leftmost column for again?
This is the clipboard, so if I say like edit, copy, it tells me what I've copied. So then if I just go, let's see, paste, copy, paste, paste. You can move things around.
It'd be nice if that was just a drag and drop and then drag it over where you want it.
Yeah. If I want to actually change what's in here, I just change it in the drop down. So I can certainly go in here and be like, oh. Let's do this. So now we have, that doesn't make any sense, but, I'm pulling an image from somewhere else now.
If you have sync to layout on and you make a preview in layout, will it preview in that window there?
I don't think it does. Let me try this real quick. Well, maybe it does.
Make it so.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. So that would be a situation where you'd probably rough stuff out, save this out, reload it in here. So do I want to close this? No, it's like, oh, let's see, background color. Any other questions?
Cool. So because you can move the frames around, is there any way you can sound sync the track read?
I mean, like auto-generate a sequence based on the audio file?
Well, how do you guys track read?
When I did this, I just I mean, I knew what he was saying, so I kind of knew when he was going to say make it so. So it was just kind of, roughing in. Just kind of putting the phonemes where I knew he was going to be making a sound. Is that what you're asking?
You kind of generalized it.
Yeah.
Kind of hit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, this doesn't like take the wave file and like and then analyze it to say no to then put like this is where this is. It's all very much by ear.
Okay.
So I mean, this took me all of 20 seconds just to kind of rough it in.
How does the memory cache work?
That part I don't know a whole lot about. It's there. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, that part. Mike's explained it to me, and I think even then it's not as efficient as he thought it would be, and that's because I think he and New Tech are talking. So the frame blending thing here. Let's see if that will work.
Is that if you do time remapping or something?
Yeah, what it does is it will actually blend between the two drawings or images. There you go. So that's an example of frame blending. So because I have those images coming on at different points in time where they're not next to each other, it's trying to blend between them. So it's, I haven't found a use for it. I guess it's kind of almost like a funky alternative motion blur, but that's what frame blending is. So with this one, it's like 50% of the one before it and 50% of the one after it. Any other questions? Great.
Well, it dodged. Is this available now? Or?
Yeah, it was released right before SIGGRAPH, so it's been fairly stable. There's, of course, I guess I was running into some weirdness during this demo, so it'll be nice to kind of revisit it to let Michael know. But I mean, we've been using it at the studio, so.
Is it a free plugin, or do you pay for it?
No, I think I don't know the cost. It's not very expensive though. It's pretty much in line with all those other plugins.
Where do you get it?
Where is it?
Where do you get it?
I think db-w.com.
Just curious how to map the mount shapes to the face, so if you trim the face from
It is. And this was just a regular planar map. So I've scanned. There's the mouth. You know, it's not tiling, so I have a set to reset, and I just kind of moved and placed it around. So if I were actually to kind of, this was just kind of roughly built last night, so right now it kind of projects through his head. But, yeah, so. Yeah, it's just kind of basic, regular, standard image projection.
Yeah, but if you were having it see the character's image, how would you map it?
Well, right now this is mapped to him, so it's kind of like a Lego character, so it's going to stick to him. If you were thinking of maybe actually having it as like an actual card, you could probably have a card floating in front of his face, and that could always point back to camera. You know, maybe similar to how Robot Chicken does stuff, where like when the character's turning, they probably just take a sticker and just stick it to the character's the doll's face, so it's actually not like conforming to the doll. It's kind of just stuck on. But this is actually mapped to him. Does that answer your question?
Well, you said it's planar map here, I understand that, but if you were going to rotate your head around, would that stay mapped to it?
If I would mean this was something I was working on?
Yeah.
Probably, because it's just kind of painted on. It's just, you know, it's like a sticker on a toy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you have to UV map it on.
No, it's not UV map. This is just planar map. I mean, I'd probably go back and add a fall off or just copy these polygons and just name it something else that doesn't have that map, that doesn't have that image map, you know, applied to it.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, for 2D applications with on a 3D character, you're sort of limited in your angles because they can't really go in profile.
No, yeah. I mean,
unless they do a Picasso and their mouth slides on.
So part of that will probably just be how you lay a shot out in actual animation. You know, it's almost like when you're watching sitcom, there's everyone's furniture is always facing the camera.
Yeah. Right.
There's that fourth wall doesn't exist. So there's Captain Picard with the gold tooth.